In 1980, The Empire Strikes Back hit theaters and changed movies forever. Darker, bolder, and packed with jaw-dropping twists, it raised the stakes in George Lucas's galaxy far, far away. From the icy wastelands of Hoth to Vader's unforgettable revelation, it became a cultural touchstone. But the wildest stories happened off-screen. From potatoes in space to frozen actors in Norway, here are 20 facts about The Empire Strikes Back that'll blow your mind. When Darth Vader told Luke Skywalker, "No, I am your father," audiences went into collective meltdown. Back in 1980, spoilers weren't everywhere. This was a genuine shock. Even most of the cast didn't know it. George Lucas was so paranoid about leaks that he gave David Prowse, the man inside the Vader suit, fake dialogue. "Obi-Wan killed your father." Only Mark Hamill knew the truth, which he was told minutes before filming. Imagine the pressure of carrying one of the biggest secrets in cinema. The line itself has since been misquoted as Luke, "I am your father," but the effect is the same. Utter disbelief. Theaters reportedly went silent before bursting into gasps. Kids were traumatized, parents were stunned, and Star Wars went from a fun space romp to Shakespearean tragedy. Even today, it's considered the greatest plot twist of all time, proof that secrecy and drama go hand in hand. George Lucas didn't direct Empire. Instead, he handed the reins to Irvin Kershner, one of his old professors at USC. Why? Lucas wanted to focus on running his growing empire, ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, Skywalker Ranch, and merchandise rights. Kershner was reluctant, saying, "Why make a sequel to the biggest movie of all time? You can only fail." But Lucas convinced him, and Kershner's style gave the movie its emotional weight. Unlike Lucas, who leaned more toward spectacle, Kershner focused on character relationships, Han and Leia's romance, Luke's doubts, Vader's menace. That mix of spectacle and intimacy is why Empire stands out. Critics later praised Kershner for turning what could have been a shallow sequel into a deeper, richer story. Without him, we might never have gotten the darker, more complex tone that fans still adore. Funny enough, Kershner himself wasn't a fan of sci-fi. Go figure. The ice planet Hoth wasn't built on a soundstage. It was filmed in Finse, Norway. The production picked the location for its breathtaking glaciers, but they didn't plan on getting hit with one of the worst snowstorms in decades. Cast and crew were trapped inside their hotel with snow piled high against the doors. Instead of waiting it out, they filmed right outside. That shot of Luke stumbling through the blizzard? That's Mark Hamill trudging into actual freezing winds a few feet from the hotel lobby. Conditions were so brutal that equipment froze, camera lenses fogged, and the crew had to take turns warming up inside. Harrison Ford couldn't even reach the location at first due to the storm. But all the misery paid off. The Hoth battle is one of the most convincing sci-fi snowscapes ever filmed. So tell me, would you rather face Vader in a duel or camp out in a Norwegian blizzard? Drop your answer in the comments and smash that like button if you'd take the Sith Lord over Frostbite. Yes, really. Before Yoda became a beloved puppet voiced by Frank Oz, the plan was to use a trained monkey wearing a mask and carrying a cane. Early test photos even show a tiny primate in Jedi robes. But the monkey kept yanking off the mask during rehearsals, and handlers quickly realized the idea was a disaster. Enter Jim Henson's team, who designed Yoda as a fully animatronic puppet. Frank Oz provided the voice and puppeteering, giving Yoda life in ways a monkey never could. The puppet was so expressive that audiences forgot they were watching rubber and mechanics. Yoda's wisdom, "Do or do not, there is no try," became iconic. Can you imagine if Yoda had been a twitchy monkey instead of a wise green master? Instead of timeless Jedi philosophy, we might have gotten bananas. Thankfully, Lucas made the switch, and movie history was saved from becoming unintentionally hilarious. Han Solo's legendary response to Leia's "I love you," the simple, smug "I know," wasn't scripted. The original line had Han replying, "I love you too," but Harrison Ford thought it didn't fit Han's personality. He suggested the cooler, cockier response. Director Irvin Kershner agreed to shoot it both ways, and when they saw Ford's delivery, they knew it was perfect. That single improvised line instantly became one of the most iconic in Star Wars history. It captures everything about Han: confident, charming, and a little reckless. Fans still quote it at weddings, conventions, and even on t-shirts. Carrie Fisher later said she loved the change because it made Leia's moment even stronger. Her love was so obvious, Han didn't even need to say it back. The scene is a reminder that sometimes the best movie moments aren't written by screenwriters, but by actors who really know their characters. By 1980 standards, Empire was a monster budget movie. The original Star Wars cost about $11 million, but Empire ballooned to $33 million. Financing was tricky. George Lucas had to use his own money, borrowing against the profits from Star Wars. It was a massive gamble, and at one point, Lucas nearly went bankrupt. But his risk paid off. Not only was Empire a success, but by financing it independently, Lucas kept ownership of the franchise. That meant full control of sequels, merchandise, and spin-offs. Basically, it set him up to never have to rely on a studio again. In hindsight, Lucas's gamble was one of the smartest business moves in film history. Imagine if the movie had flopped, we might never have seen Return of the Jedi, prequels, or even Disney's sequels. Sometimes risking everything really does pay off, though Lucas might have needed a stiff drink or two along the way. Before The Empire Strikes Back, Boba Fett was basically a nobody, a mysterious bounty hunter who only appeared in the infamous 1978 Star Wars Holiday Special. That cartoonish debut didn't exactly scream fan favorite, but Empire changed everything. With his cool armor, stoic presence, and reputation as the galaxy's best bounty hunter, Boba Fett instantly became a cult icon. What's funny is he barely speaks, and has less screen time than you probably remember. Still, his jetpack, wrist gadgets, and cold attitude made him unforgettable. Kids wanted his action figure more than almost any other character. George Lucas himself admitted he didn't expect Fett to become such a phenomenon. In fact, he originally planned for him to be a kind of super stormtrooper. Instead, he became a legend. Sometimes mystery is more powerful than screen time, and Boba Fett proved that by stealing scenes without even trying. The asteroid chase is one of the film's most thrilling sequences. Han, Leia, and Chewie dodging rocks in the Millennium Falcon like intergalactic stunt drivers. But not every asteroid was, well, an asteroid. ILM's effects team had a problem. They needed tons of objects flying around, but building dozens of models was too expensive and time-consuming. Their solution? Potatoes. Yep, they threw actual potatoes, and sometimes even shoes, into the mix, filming them as background asteroids. If you freeze-frame carefully, you can spot the lumpy shapes floating through space. Fans still debate whether it was genius or just lazy, but either way, it worked. The sequence became iconic, and nobody in 1980 suspected they were gasping at Idaho spuds spinning through the cosmos. Imagine the conversation. What did you do at work today? Launched a potato into outer space. The Force works in mysterious ways. Those Dagobah training sequences look cool, but Mark Hamill had to suffer for them. First off, Yoda wasn't CGI. He was a puppet operated by Frank Oz and a team hiding under the swamp set. Hamill had to act while crouching, balancing, and pretending a rubber alien was alive. On top of that, he spent days running, flipping, and carrying Yoda on his back in a swampy, humid studio. Hamill later admitted it was exhausting, especially because he was the only human actor on set most of the time. The good news? His hard work paid off. Those scenes are some of the most beloved in the saga. They also helped cement Yoda as one of cinema's greatest mentors. Be honest, if you had to train with Yoda, would you last more than a day before quitting? Drop your answer in the comments and smash that like button if you'd at least try to lift the X-Wing. Back in 1980, CGI didn't exist, so the breathtaking floating cloud city of Bespin wasn't real. It was painted. Literally. Matte painters created massive canvases with detailed cityscapes, and the film crew combined them with live-action footage. The results fooled everyone. What's wild is that many of the city shots in Empire are 95% painting, with maybe a doorway or small section being an actual set. The painters even used tricks like scraping the paint with razor blades to create glowing light effects. It was meticulous, painstaking work, but the payoff was huge. Cloud City remains one of the most memorable Star Wars locations, blending futuristic sci-fi with old-school artistry. Fans today rave about CGI, but honestly, some of those painted shots from 1980 look better than modern effects. Proof that sometimes brushes and paint can outshine millions of dollars in computers. Han Solo being frozen in carbonite wasn't originally meant to be such a big deal. In fact, it happened because Harrison Ford hadn't signed a contract for Return of the Jedi. Lucas wasn't sure if Ford would come back, so freezing him gave them an out just in case. If Ford bailed, Han could have stayed in carbonite forever. Luckily, Ford returned, but the moment ended up being one of the film's most iconic cliffhangers. It also gave us Han and Leia's legendary exchange. I love you, I know. Thank you, improv king Harrison Ford. The freeze chamber scene wasn't just suspenseful, it was gorgeous, with smoke, glowing orange lights, and haunting music. It showed Star Wars could be operatic, not just adventurous. Funny enough, a behind-the-scenes photo shows Ford joking around in the carbonite mold, ruining the drama entirely. Proof that even dark moments can have goofy origins. Darth Vader wasn't just one man. The body was David Prowse, the voice was James Earl Jones, and the stunt fighting was often handled by Bob Anderson. That mix created tension. Prowse famously thought his own voice would be used in the final cut, and when he learned Jones replaced him, he wasn't thrilled. Fans joked that Vader was 3 men in 1 suit. Still, that combination is what made him unforgettable. Prowse's towering presence gave Vader menace, Jones's voice gave him gravitas, and Anderson's choreography gave him action. The downside? Prowse sometimes leaked plot details to the press, though he claimed it was unintentional, which annoyed Lucas. Over time, the relationship soured, and Prowse was even banned from official Lucasfilm events. Drama aside, the creation of Vader remains one of cinema's greatest collaborations. No single actor could have carried it alone. It took a small army to build the galaxy's scariest dad. Luke slicing open a tauntaun to survive the cold might be one of the most unforgettable scenes in Empire. But shooting it was even grosser than it looks. The creature was a giant prop stuffed with insulation and fake guts, and Hamill had to crawl inside it while trying not to gag. The crew made the innards out of latex and slime, but under hot studio lights, it started to smell bad. Hamill joked that it was authentic survival training. The scene itself, though, was pure genius. It showed the grittiness of Star Wars, where even heroes get dirty and desperate. It also gave birth to one of the funniest pop culture parodies ever, the Empire Strikes Back sleeping bag shaped like a tauntaun, complete with printed guts inside. Who says survival horror can't also be cozy merch? Remember the first time you saw Darth Vader without his helmet? That pale, scarred head with strange machinery hissing behind him? In 1980, this was jaw-dropping. Until then, Vader had been pure menace, an untouchable force of evil. Suddenly, he was vulnerable, damaged, and more human than anyone expected. The shot was carefully designed to last only a few seconds, keeping the mystery alive. But it worked. It made fans wonder what horrors Vader had endured. The actor in the suit for that moment was actually Sebastian Shaw, who later played Anakin's ghost in Return of the Jedi. Fans were obsessed, and magazines at the time called it the most haunting 3 seconds in Star Wars. Do you think Vader was scarier before the reveal, or after we saw the broken man beneath the mask? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you love the mystery, smash that like button. The ice monster that attacks Luke on Hoth, the Wampa, was originally supposed to appear much more on screen. They built a full costume, but it looked, well, goofy. The solution? Keep the creature mostly hidden in shadows and quick cuts, making it scarier. This trick, similar to Jaws, turned a clunky monster suit into something genuinely terrifying. Mark Hamill filmed the fight with limited visibility, swinging a lightsaber at a guy sweating inside a fursuit. Fun fact, the Wampa attack was added partly to explain Hamill's real-life facial injuries from a car accident before shooting. It gave Luke an in-universe scar while upping the stakes. The Wampa may not have had much screen time, but its impact was huge, proof that less is often more in horror. And honestly, who didn't jump at that first swing of the claws? Today, it's impossible to imagine Yoda without Frank Oz's gravelly, backwards-talking voice. But in earlier production, George Lucas considered casting another famous actor, none other than Orson Welles. That's right, the booming voice behind Citizen Kane and countless movie trailers could have been the Jedi Master. Lucas worried, though, that Welles' recognizable voice would distract audiences. So Frank Oz got the job, and thank the Force, he did. Oz not only voiced Yoda, but puppeteered him too, syncing voice and movement perfectly. The result was a character so real, audiences forgot he was a puppet. In fact, Yoda was so convincing that he won Frank Oz praise from critics who didn't even realize he wasn't a real creature. Imagine Yoda sounding like a dramatic Shakespearean actor. Would do or do not still hit the same? Probably not. Sometimes the right choice is the less obvious one. The carbon freezing chamber wasn't just a plot device, it became one of the most visually stunning sets in Star Wars history. With glowing orange lights, billowing steam, and shadows everywhere, it looked like an alien industrial cathedral. Cinematographer Peter Sushitsky designed it to be eerie yet beautiful, with heavy use of backlighting to highlight Vader's silhouette. The set was so atmospheric that even without dialogue, the tension was unbearable. Every fan remembers the sound of machinery whirring as Han is lowered, Leia's face in anguish, and Vader standing like a judge over it all. It's one of those scenes where visuals and emotion collide perfectly. Behind the scenes, though, it was brutally hot. Actors sweated under the lights, and the fog machines made it hard to breathe. Still, the end result is one of the most iconic sequences in the entire saga. Industrial terror has never looked so good. By the time Empire came around, Lucas already knew toys were the real moneymakers. After the shocking success of Star Wars merchandise, Lucasfilm doubled down. Every new character, Boba Fett, Lando, Yoda, was designed with toys in mind. Kenner churned out action figures faster than fans could buy them. Kids didn't just watch Empire, they reenacted it in their bedrooms with plastic Falcons and carbon-freeze Han playsets. Lucas was so ahead of the game that he delayed toy releases just to build hype. Critics mocked the commercialization, but those toys kept the franchise alive between films. Today, vintage Empire toys sell for thousands on eBay. George Lucas once joked that the real Empire, in Empire Strikes Back, was his toy empire. Maybe he wasn't joking. Star Wars didn't just change movies, it changed how movies made money forever. It's hard to believe now, but when The Empire Strikes Back premiered, not all critics loved it. Some called it too dark, too confusing, and complained that it ended on a cliffhanger with no resolution. Roger Ebert praised it, but others thought it was weaker than Star Wars. Fans, though, had the opposite reaction. They couldn't get enough. The darker tone, deeper characters, and shocking twist made it unforgettable. Over time, the movie's reputation skyrocketed, and today it's often ranked as the greatest Star Wars film ever made. The lesson? Greatness isn't always obvious right away. Sometimes you need time to see how groundbreaking something is. In 1980, Empire was divisive. In 2025, it's legendary. Just goes to show that critics don't always get it right. Sometimes the fans do. Before Empire, sequels were usually lazy cash grabs. Studios cranked them out cheaply, hoping to squeeze more money from a hit. But Empire shattered that idea. It wasn't just a rehash of Star Wars. It was deeper, darker, and ended on a cliffhanger, something unheard of at the time. Suddenly, sequels weren't just extras. They were essential chapters in a bigger saga. Hollywood took note. Without Empire, we might not have franchises like The Lord of the Rings, The Dark Knight trilogy, or even the MCU as we know it. Every modern blockbuster owes a little something to Vader telling Luke the truth. It proved sequels could be art, not just product. The legacy of Empire isn't just Star Wars, it's the way Hollywood tells stories today. In a galaxy far, far away, a sequel changed everything. Conclusion. And there you have it, 20 wild facts about The Empire Strikes Back. From potatoes in space to monkeys in Jedi robes to freezing actors in Norway, this sequel was as chaotic behind the scenes as it was epic on screen. It shocked audiences, redefined sequels, and gave us one of the most quoted lines in movie history. Whether you love it for Yoda's wisdom, Han's swagger, or Vader's jaw-dropping reveal, Empire remains the gold standard for what a sequel should be. So what's your favorite moment? Hoth, Dagobah, Cloud City, or that final duel? Drop your pick in the comments, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shaped cinema.